having to reset this for the third time today. So let's actually keep it going. Please.
Flight 12 coming soon, targeting Tuesday, the 19th of the next week. That's no earlier than. Hopefully, it'll be going that day. We got boosters at the production site. We got the ship at the production site going final preparations for launch. So stay with us here. We are going to cover it all.
And here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Gino.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
So it's sort of trying to condense some of the specific design features of HLS, and also the really important things like how important it is, Flight 12, towards HLS. Because as Ryan was saying earlier in the show today, they cannot be just, blowing ships over the Turks and Caicos, right? It's like they really need to get.
Well, they
this
can't this
thing
time.
down.
They've got a new trajectory. They're going to be blowing
True.
up over the Cayman Islands instead. So they're targeting a different British overseas territory this time around.
Point for you. but what I mean with this is that they cannot afford to really mess this thing up, right? And so this is the really important thing where it's like Flight 12 is really important for HLS to work on time. It's not that these challenges are never going to be solved, right? Because if there's a company out there that can solve really tough challenges, it's SpaceX. The problem is solving them on time to both beat the Chinese, because the US is in a race with China, whether I agree with that or not, it's a whole different thing. And then they're also in a race with Blue Origin as a contractor for the lunar lander for Artemis. So there's really this pressure for this mission to work. And of course subsequent missions as well, but this one is sort of proving out new pad, new version of the ship, new version of the booster, new engines, right? It's like all new things, and this is why pretty much the entirety of the flight profile is by all means just like Flight 11, right? It's the same thing as we're seeing here, but with a new version. Like, let's see if the new things can repeat, and not only just repeat, but also make it better than the previous version, right? I really want to see a ship like Ship 39. Really, this is cool, right? I want to see that, and I want to see in the future that in the background at the bottom, there's like South Padre Island, right? Like that's the sort of thing, and it's approaching the tower and landing on the chopsticks, and that's going to enable them to be able to launch more frequently, which for refueling flights, it's a really important thing. For Artemis, right? They need 15, 20 tankers or whatever. That is really important, and so that's the video, what the video is about. It's a very short video, much shorter than this answer.
We'll definitely be looking forward to that. I want to thank some people here while we got the chance. We got Nathaniel. Got a store message. See what you got. Looks like I got a patch. Patches are cool. Thanks for the years of coverage. Been here since early tank launching days. Well, thank you. Appreciate you sticking around and being with us. We've been witnessing so much history here. Got Jerwa. Hi, Jerwa. Jerwa with a $50 tip. Thank you, Jerwa. You're always very generous. We do appreciate all your support. Been around for a long time with us. Appreciate that. And hi, excited launch waving. Amaze. We got Jimmy with the store message. Looks like got a patch, if I'm reading this right. Cheers, NSF team. Go Flight 12. Yep, we're going to do our best for you. Blue Casher 7736 with a $250 Euro super chat. How much taller can Starship and Super Heavy get before SpaceX increases the diameter? has a wider spaceship been confirmed? I mean, way back in the way, this is like 4 years ago. Elon made one passing comment about an 18 meters ship, and I was waiting and waiting for that thing to die. Is it possible? I guess it is. Ryan, do you think they could go wider? Because that's going to mean changing all the infrastructure out. So I don't see it happening anytime in the near future.
I think an 18-meter Starship is about as far away as, a permanent civilization on the outer moons of Neptune. I think it's going to happen, just not in the next, tangible future. I think it's going to be something far down the line. It also raises the point of, like, how big do you need your big rocket to be? Because Starship can already loft a lot of stuff into space, and we're going to have off-world manufacturing, and, very out of the scope of this show. But yeah, I think it will probably happen, a wider ship, a wider vehicle for that matter, but a long way in the future.
Sorry, guys, I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So I think we've got some breaking news, don't we, Mr. Kevin? Coming up. Looks like we have some new notice to airmen, some NOTAMs that have come out. Ryan, what do you make of this?
Yep, so it looks like we have got some new air hazards for the aircraft, of course, starting on May 19th. So sticking with that May 19th date that SpaceX has been officially targeting now for 24 hours or so. I see this one is just between Cuba and Jamaica. So this is continuing to build out all of the different notices we have for the launch portion of flight. Because, of course, there are lots of different countries, lots of different airspaces that need to be closed off. Countries, of course, in their own domestic airspace, control those and put out the hazard areas. So it looks like more NOTAMs arriving for launch on May 19th, still looking at that 22:30 universal time launch window. So that's pretty exciting. More things targeting the 19th.
Very good. And we've got Luke, got a store message. See what you got. T-shirt, it looks like. Oh, yeah, cool T-shirts. Yeah, the merch from our store is just awesome, guys. It's not just that I'm pushing the merch. The quality of the stuff is just, it's great. Once you get it, the material, and they do a lot. Lindsay and I know Doss gets involved with this, looking at the actual quality. We try not to put out garbage type, merch and, the shirts and the cups and things like that. And so you're listening from the UK. Appreciate that. We get folks from all over the world, and that's the cool thing about going down to Starbase. You get to meet people from all over the world that go down there. It's a pilgrimage. It's such a cool place to be. I think shout out to Jack, our good buddy. Put it as it's a music festival with rockets. It's just so chill and just amazing to go down there. We got Anonymous with a store message. Ooh, a heavy merch. Is that a hat? Hopefully, you don't need that too soon. Hello, NASA SpaceX flight. Now, how many Starship rockets are flying this launch day? Well, Ryan, I'm going to ask you this question. We have a launch coming up right after this, don't we?
We do indeed. We have CRS-34 coming up in 1 hour and 2 and a bit minutes time. And I'm going to be on that stream. So at this point, I'm going to bid everyone farewell, because I need to go and talk on that stream in 2 minutes time. Bye, everyone.
Very good, Ryan. We'll be looking forward to that. Again, that's going to be a cargo ship going back to the space station, so much looking forward towards that.
How long do I have to wait for?
Kevin's doing this on purpose.
The Queen Wave. Oh, so much fun. And we got Jeff Rowe. Thank you very much. Jeff, one of our regulars, gifting a Red Team membership. So if you got that, please give Jeff a shout out there. Alex, some latest development maybe we can talk to. SpaceX has just bought property in Louisiana. Do we have any indication on what that is and what they could be doing with that?
Yeah, they're in that process right now. They confirmed yesterday that they are indeed looking towards that. They always have different options, and that one seems to be currently, at least publicly, the one that is furthest ahead, if you will, right? So we'll see what happens with that. Whether we'll put a camera or not, we'll think about that. Of course, I'm not speaking officially for NSF, but I will say that you know already how we roll, so I will not be surprised.
Yeah, that's for sure. And kind of going, you may have covered this earlier, and from Gingag age. I apologize. About the flaps, hoping they survive better. Do you know if they've what improvements or what changes have gone into those flaps for Flight 12 and the version 3s?
As far as I know, they're pretty much the same. Like one of the many things that have not changed is the flaps. Their shape and structure and everything are very much the same. Their actuators have changed. That's a fancy thing that they added on the updates yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? I don't remember now when it was. But SpaceX talked about that they simplified and also added redundancies on the actuators. But the flaps themselves, the actual thing that moves, it really hasn't changed that much. There is for this flight more tile tests, just like we saw for previous flights, where they have put many more test of tiles on the leeward side. So on the side that does not hit the plasma, basically. But other than that, they're very much the same. I don't expect them to be any sort of different in that sense.
Very good. Okay, we're coming near the end here. Just a quick question here,
Contributions.
Jasper wondering about Hawaiian shirts. I don't know. Our shop team is always working on new stuff, always cool stuff. They come out with things like the pins that came out recently. If you don't know about this, there's pins for every launch coming out now, some special ones out there, so you can collect them all. And on the Hawaiian shirts, I had a family get together. I bought all my family Hawaiian shirts. We went out to dinner and NSF Hawaiian shirts, and that was the bomb. So anyway, I would think that's going to be it for this countdown to launch. We thank you all for being here. First to Ryan, thanks for being here, Ryan. Looking forward to, and stay tuned for the coverage of CRS flight coming up here. It'll be on a separate stream. Empty chair. Invisible guy. Anyway, and Alex, always a pleasure. You're always great on these streams, always so knowledgeable, and thank you very much.
Yeah, and you know the drill. We'll keep doing this as we go. I believe tomorrow might hear you on a Raptor site, right? At 2 p.m. Central on Starbase Live. We'll also have that as well running 24/7. We'll probably have another count to launch a little bit closer to the launch as well. Friday, TFT, Flame Trench. That'll be a Starship special, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with the Raptor sites on Starbase Live, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central, unless something major is going on, we just get together. It's kind of a round table. We're sitting around talking rockets with you. We take your questions. Happy to have is pretty much low key. A lot of times Chris Bergen will come on. He'll give you an update as far as what's been happening recently since the last one. So look forward to those. And again, shout out to our SBL ops and all our camera ops at all our streams. They do such a great job bringing you this stuff 24/7. We got our camera crews down there, Gage, Caesar, Max is down there, and Colleen that are getting preps ready. I mean, there's so much work happening behind the scenes for this stuff. And finally, I would be remiss if I don't. So shout out to my buddy, Kevin Michael Reed, for always producing these things. I don't know how you do it, dude, and when you sleep, but it's much, much appreciated. And with that, I'm Roger Smith. Thanks for putting up with me for this countdown to launch. My first one. Hope it wasn't too bad. Hope you had fun. I sure did. So take care, everybody. Talk to you next time.
And here we go. There's the W. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalizer.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is! That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. Grr. We don't need any more of these.
Whoa. What's that? I just built a budgeting app with Base 44.
Guys, Nina just built an app.
Impossible.
That's not what we want to see.
No.
Oh my god.
Yikes, you bet. We don't need any more of these.
Well, as you can see by the clouds in the background, the weather is rolling through, but there's a little bit of a blue sky starting to pop up. So whether we actually get a launch today is still yet to be seen, but fingers crossed in 56 minutes and 10 seconds we will get that answer, and fingers crossed it'll be a good answer. We all want to see a launch today. Commercial resupply services number 34 for SpaceX is vertical at Slick 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, and we are counting down to yet another Falcon 9 launch, something which is becoming a little bit of a rarity on the Space Coast these days, surprisingly. I'm sure that's something we'll be talking about over the next 55 minutes as well. My name is Ryan Caton. Thank you very much for joining us for yet another live stream today here on NSF as we bring you the live launch coverage with another audience member in the form of a bug flying in front of the official cameras here. Very useful. Thank you very much for that, official NASA cameras. But it's not just my voice you'll be hearing. Alongside me, also in the studio, not venturing out into this weather, and Sawyer, I don't blame you, Sawyer Rosenstein.
Yeah, Ryan, it's been very dry here in Florida. There's been a bunch of burns and fires, and then all of a sudden the rain decides to come right when SpaceX and NASA want to launch to the International Space Station both yesterday and today. Mother Nature can be kind and cruel at the same time, but hopefully they find a gap to get this thing to launch.
And someone who did venture out into the weather, not like they really had any other option, but someone who did venture out into the weather, D. Wise is joining us from the field.
Yeah, it is. I wish I could say a lovely day, but there are some spots of blue sky in the cloud, and it's better weather than yesterday. That's it's an achievement. Looking forward to hopefully, maybe, just maybe having a launch this evening.
Fingers crossed. That's all we can do, fingers crossed. Something you can do is tag us in chat at NASA Spaceflight or at NSF if you have any questions or comments you want us to bring on screen. We'll do our best at answering them. To kick things off, though, Sawyer, the elephant in the room are the clouds. What is the latest information on the weather?
Yeah, you're going to love this one, chat. So, the latest update that we got from SpaceX just about 3 minutes ago is that weather is currently 10% favorable for liftoff at 6:50 p.m. Eastern Time, which is when this mission is supposed to head to the International Space Station. And a reminder that this is an instantaneous launch window because it is going to the International Space Station. So, it's not like they get a chance to wait it out a little bit. The original concerns from the 45th Weather Squadron going into today was the cumulus cloud rule, the anvil cloud rule, and the surface electric field rule. Basically, thunderstorm clouds rolling through that could produce lightning. And in fact, that has been a concern as we have seen that parts of the Space Center and the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station are in a Phase 2 lightning warning. So Phase 1 lightning watch means there's a chance for lightning to be in the area. A Phase 2 lightning warning means it is nearby, so go indoors, do not go outside, do not fuel, do not pass go, do not collect $200.
Thank you very much, Sawyer. And yeah, this is an instantaneous launch today, as you were talking about. This is going to the International Space Station, and, the ISS is whizzing around Earth at 27,000 kilometers an hour. What is that? 16,000 miles an hour or something? You can't just launch at any time. You've got to go when you got to go, and that is when the space station is overhead. So instantaneous launch for Falcon 9 today, which is why the weather is much more of a concern than, say, if it was a Starlink launch. Good old Starlink launch. They got a 4-hour window. They can basically go whenever they like. There you go. Jake Egan pulling out all the stops for today's stream with the live positioning of the International Space Station just over Western Australia right now. Just went over Perth. Jay saying that he doesn't get to use his graphic very often. I don't blame him. This is one of the very few launches per year where we get to use Jay's ISS graphic. And there you go. So you can actually see there. I mean, in the next 51 minutes, the space station is literally going to fly from Australia to directly over Florida. You can see, if you follow the orange line, down beneath New Zealand, and then you got to put your eyes back to the left side of the screen, follow the orange line up the Pacific over Mexico. Thank you, Jay Keegan, with the cursor. There we go. Look at this. And, almost flies over your house, Sawyer. But it does get pretty close to the Cape Canaveral, and that's when they'll be launching, when the ISS kind of gets within range.
Actually, it kind of does.
Let's see here for some questions. Again, if you are watching and you have any questions, tag us in chat at NASA Spaceflight or at NSF. Adrian is saying, one would think you've just been on another live stream, Ryan. I did just dart across from the, figuratively speaking, literally not so much, but I did just dart across from our countdown to launch stream as we get ready for Starship Flight 12. And video game developer is asking, what is the best piece of cargo on CRS-34? Sawyer, have you got any specific, I don't know, maybe payloads or just tortillas that you're most looking forward to seeing fly?
I mean, for the astronauts, it's probably new pieces as part of the waste management system aboard the International Space Station. They're sending up some replacement parts as well as some extra storage parts for the onboard facilities, which are somewhat similar to the ones that were used on Orion, but a little more evolved, as well as the wastewater processing and treatment facility. So basically the stuff that turns urine into drinkable water. But in terms of other stuff going up, there are some really cool science experiments, and there's about 1,800 pounds or 830 kilos worth of science going up in the pressurized area, another 1,800 pounds of stuff coming in the unpressurized payloads in the trunk of Dragon there. It's vehicle hardware, computer resources, spacewalk equipment, because those spacesuits up there are pretty old and they need replacement parts kind of constantly. And of course, stuff for the crew, which includes food, water, some fresh foods that they'll be able to eat as well, and then some, some other goodies for them. So all of that in the crew supplies there. So 6,500 pounds or about 3,000 kilos of supplies going up. And we can talk more about specific science experiments in a little bit because there's some really cool ones.
Yeah, indeed. These cargo resupply flights are really the only sort of periods when the crew on board the space station get any chance to have something relatively fresh. Because, all the other food has been launched on another cargo resupply, and it has to be able to be good for consumption for months, if not years. They have to have a really long life. And, fresh food, typically doesn't really have that much of a life in it compared to, some of the more storable foods. So I'm sure the crew are always very happy to see another cargo ship arrive at the space station, usually bringing with some fresh fruits and veg or something along those lines. But looking at the Cargo Dragon spacecraft that will be flying today's mission, standing proud at Space Launch Complex 40, unless my eyes are deceiving me, there's more blue sky than there was when we started this stream 10 minutes ago. D, how's the weather for you?
We still have lightning and thunder in the area where we are still under a phase 2 here at the press site, but there are blue skies, so hopefully it will really clear up and we can get moving on things. We're getting closer to fueling, and that's a very crucial point for this mission. They need to start that fueling. So hopefully in the next 10 minutes, it has cleared enough that they can actually do that.
That is, of course, a very dynamic operation. So if there's any chance that the lightning could strike, they are not allowed to enter those operations. So fingers crossed. Maybe a bit of a change of ND from SpaceX there, as it gets a little bit brighter. Fingers crossed as the clouds start to thin out. But yeah, they can't be loading fuel when there's lightning in the area. So fingers crossed the weather cooperates. Counting down through 47 minutes now. And Sawyer, Slick 40 is, of course, SpaceX's only Falcon 9 pad. Well, it's not technically their only Falcon 9 pad, but it's only it's their only Florida Falcon 9 pad in regular operation these days. 39A focusing on Falcon Heavy, which we saw a few days ago, and Starship, of course. And it's been a little bit of a weird month and a half or so from Florida, because ever since they retired the Just Read the Instructions drone ship from service for Falcon 9, it feels like they've been slowing down the launch cadence. There just haven't been that many launches compared to what we saw, around, beginning of the year or even this time last year.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Everything was picking up pace with all the Starlink missions, and then we had the GPS 3 mission, and that's when they said, "Hey, yeah, turns out this was the last last drone ship landing for Just Read the Instructions as a Falcon 9 recovery vessel." And after that, everything went relatively quiet. A lot of that was because the focus then went to Falcon Heavy, which launched from 39A last month, just a couple weeks ago now, actually. And so after that, we've seen one Starlink, and then we have this mission, and then there's a customer mission that's currently scheduled for no earlier than Sunday, also from Slick 40. So it's weird seeing them calm down. If you look on the West Coast over at Vandenberg, they are still regularly launching Starlinks there. I guess the Cape operations are quieting down. They haven't really given a reason why, not as if they need to refurbish the pads or anything. They've been keeping up with maintenance on it, it seems like. So it's unclear exactly why, but that seems to be the trend.
Fingers crossed when Starship arrives, that helps to boost up the cadence because, as SpaceX likes to say, they'll be able to launch many more satellites on Starship than they can on Falcon 9, and those satellites will be much bigger than the satellites they can launch on Falcon 9, meaning they can, pack more computers and antennas and bandwidth into those satellites and be able to share more data, which means, faster internet for us here on Earth. And, personally, I'm not going to complain about that. Faster internet is more better. More internet, more better, as Jack would probably say. As we approach 44 minutes left to go in the countdown. We've been getting some support in chat, so I'm going to run through this very quickly. Joar, thank you for the $50 tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com. That goes directly to us, straight to NSF, goes straight into feeding the cameras and the robots, which help to bring you the live views. Julius, thank you for your support. Looks like you've picked up the Starship Flight 12 patch. Available at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Tim has become a flight engineer member. That is the highest level of support we have here on YouTube as part of the YouTube membership. So thank you, Tim. You will now get your name at the end of every NSF live show. Ship26 Fan Club, welcome to the chat. Thank you for your support there. They are asking, alluding to what we were just talking about, Sawyer, they are asking, are SpaceX being a bit premature, do you think, phasing out Falcon 9 when Starship is not even yet at orbital operations? Personally, I think maybe this call is a little bit early, but, this is also the company which we're getting laughed at for putting landing legs and grid fins on rocket boosters.
Yeah, they're never going to land it on a barge in the ocean. That would be ridiculous. What are you talking about? But I mean, it does seem a bit early, but at the same time, SpaceX seems to know what they're doing, and they seem to be continuing to put satellites up for Starlink. The constellation has been pretty well operational for a while, and it seems at this point it's more maintenance than it is for boosting the constellation, just from my opinion here. So I don't know. It seems a bit premature. But at the same time, as you said, Starship is coming. With 39A offline, it allows them more time to continue to work on getting that pad set up for everything Starship and for the Falcon Heavy that we just had. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully it picks up a little bit later in the year. But for now, it doesn't seem they need it. And even so, the other benefit now is having that landing zone at LZ40 versus LZ1 and 2. It's a lot closer. And this booster is set to land back at that LZ on this mission versus having to use their singular drone ship that they have left on the East Coast, a shortfall of gravitas.
D, I have a question for you from the chat. Ken is asking, what do you do to beat the mosquitoes in Florida? I don't know if we lost D there for a second, but sorry if you want to.
Yeah, there's not much you really can do. I mean, other than swat them away. Of course, there's bug spray. I know people say DEET is a go-to. It's funny because you have D for DEET, and then there's another bug spray brand that I have called Sawyer. There's a Sawyer brand bug spray. So I guess D can use DEET, Sawyer can use Sawyer, and Max is out of luck. So I know at one point, I think it was D or Max had a full mosquito suit on when it was really bad because it gets to that point during the summer at night when it's super humid, given that we're right along the Banana River there and by the Turn Basin. So you kind of got to just learn to live with it, and long pants and long sleeves.
Those late night Starlinks in the summer really weren't friendly with, human bodies. There was a lot of mosquitoes out. I mean, I guess that's kind of for our benefit that they're not doing late night Starlinks that often from Florida anymore.
Yeah, it's not the late night Starlinks that do be hitting different. It's the mosquitoes that do be hitting every part of your skin.
Exactly. Okay, approaching 41 minutes left to go in the countdown. Sawyer, we are rapidly approaching the point where the launch director has to give the go for propellant load. Whether we'll get that or not is still yet to be seen, but what are some of the items we're going to be looking for over the next few minutes as we start to fuel Falcon 9?
So hopefully what we'll be looking forward to now is them to begin loading the propellants. Of course, as pointed out, they have about 2 minutes to give that go for prop load. If so, then they will start with the booster getting RP1, or rocket propellant 1, which is type kerosene, as well as the LOX, the liquid oxygen. Then they will also start loading up the LOX the RP1 onto stage 2. That's that upper white part right above that black inner stage, the one that has the Freedom 250 logo on it today. Once that begins, that will proceed till about T-minus 20 minutes, 20 seconds. And then if all goes well with that, they will have the T-minus 20 minute, 20 second vent. And then at about T-minus 16 minutes is when they begin loading the LOX onto stage 2. And again, once they begin loading those propellants, they are always committed to a T0, which I guess was technically always the case, given that this is an instantaneous launch window here. It is worth noting that at this point right now, the Phase 2 lightning warning does still appear to be in effect, and also worth noting that the last forecast that we received from SpaceX at about 5:53 p.m., so about, 20-ish minutes ago, is about 10% favorable. Although I'm hearing from the field, the update is that the launch report forecast has doubled from 10% to 20% favorable.
We're also hearing from the field that Jerry, who's going to go out and give us an alternative angle, is currently stuck on the bus because of the lightning. So fingers crossed the weather warning's clear in time and we can get some more views for you. Currently showing you some of those pad cameras provided to us by NASA, and we are very grateful to NASA for allowing us to have these direct feeds here to these pad cameras at Space Launch Complex 40 itself. So fingers crossed that we can get Dee and Jerry out in the field without getting struck by lightning. That would be a suboptimal day indeed. We are just about 40 seconds away or so from that go for propellant load commit time, so we will stand by for any information we get. And I'm hearing that we should be going into propellant load, so we should be seeing some frost rising over the next few minutes. That'll be a visual indication, but we'll just have to wait and see how things currently are running.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't get to hear the comms net for most of these missions, and even if we do, it's usually as they get closer to the T0. So as of now, we won't hear an official go or no go or anything audible like that. And even so, when they do these polls, they're all done on their consoles, nonverbal for this portion.
We have another question here from Luke. They are asking, which direction will this rocket be launching today? Will you be able to see it in South Florida? And I'm not sure if Jay Keegan can bring up his fancy ISS graphic again, but Sawyer, unfortunately for folks like yourself, I don't think this will be too visible. It's going up the northeast, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a chance that you'll see it depending on where you are in South Florida. Obviously, the further south you go towards Miami, it'll be a little more difficult. Little less likely in Fort Lauderdale. As you start getting towards West Palm Beach and Fort Pierce and Vero and up that way, you have a better chance depending on where you are in South Florida. However, if you're on the northeastern part of the United States, it's a bit of a better chance. It's still very difficult to see during the day. It's a lot easier to obviously see at night, but if you're along the northeastern part of the United States, it definitely can't hurt to go outside and take a look. But yes, this is going northeasterly.
And there you can see those hazard zones for the launch and for the landing of the fairings. Wait, no, there's no fairings. What am I talking about? What's that exclusion zone for? I'm confused. Because, of course, this is coming back to 40.
Possible debris in the worst case scenario?
Maybe. That's caught me out.
Yeah.
I'm having
it could be for abort, but
I'm
there
having
is no
an error
abort.
404 live on stream right now. Okay, so they have a hazard zone there in case the boost back burn does not work. Okay, that makes sense because of course the first stage is going to be continuing on that trajectory. Fingers crossed the boost back burn does work and they can bring the booster back to landing zone 40. Because sorry, of course, what a great way to segue. It's an RTLS mission. Yippee! We've been getting a lot of those RTLSs recently.
We have. We've also been getting a lot of ISS related missions because we had Crew 12. We had the most recent one, which is from Northrop Grumman, the Cygnus, and now we have this one as well. Also going to the ISS, and when they go to the ISS, with the way that Falcon 9 is, with the height in the orbit, or the altitude in the orbit of the ISS, and the mass of the payload, it allows them to conserve a little bit extra fuel and perform the boost back burns, where it will turn itself around essentially and then land back at LZ-40, which is technically in the very background of this shot, although you can't see it because it's basically a flat piece of concrete, as opposed to the old LZs 1 and 2, which they previously used. LZ-1 is no longer leased to SpaceX, and LZ-2, while not being allowed to use as a primary landing zone, is still technically allowed to be used for Falcon Heavy side course. But this booster will be landing just a couple hundred feet or a couple hundred meters, however you want to count it, away from this exact spot.
Indeed, the true definition of RTLS. Well, I suppose the truest definition is the super heavy chopstick catch, which literally returns to the launch mount it launched from. But in terms of Falcon 9, this is about as good as you're going to get, literally landing next door to the launch pad, not a landing zone, which is, a few miles down the road. It's pretty cool to see, especially some of the shots that our photographers are able to get of the launch and the landing so close to each other. Just crossing through T-minus 34.5 minutes now, so we should be into liquid oxygen and RP1 load on the first stage. Of course, RP1 on both stages, liquid oxygen on the first stage. So we'll be keeping our eyes peeled, see if we see any frost start to rise, which would be an indication that fueling is indeed underway. I keep getting distracted by the bugs. I think there might be a nest under both of these cameras because there's bugs flying in front of the side on camera. There's bugs flying in front of this camera. I think SpaceX might need to get some bug spray on their launch pad because they keep flying in front of the cameras and it's very distracting.
If you go back on YouTube to the shuttle days, there was a great mission where, as it was sitting on the pad, there was a spider that came onto the screen and it looked like it was attacking the shuttle. The early day memes, I guess you would call them, were very entertaining from that, even though it was really pre-meme era.
I'm sure Adrian would have loved to be on that particular stream. Let's see here. Plenty more questions coming in. Metro498 is asking, more bugs. Is CRS-34 the 34th resupply mission of the SpaceX Dragon capsule? Sawyer, would you mind explaining the two different vehicles that have resupply missions to the ISS?
Yeah, sure. As pointed out, this is the 34th ISS resupply mission as part of the Commercial Resupply Services contract. So there's been a couple versions of this, and SpaceX has constantly been renewed for each one of them, going back to, I guess it depends if you want to count some of the demo flights from the early days of COTS 2 Plus or COTS 2/3, depending on how they named it at the time, which was their demonstration mission to the ISS. And then you had the official one starting at CRS-1. There was also the Cygnus ISS resupply vehicle that is from Northrop Grumman currently. It goes all the way back to Orbital and Orbital ATK and all the other different names that they had. That used to launch on Antares. They then had to take it out of service to upgrade it to the Antares 300 series, which we haven't seen fly yet. But once it does, that is where Cygnus will return to from Wallops Island. Cygnus has also previously flown on Atlas V. And then in terms of other countries, you also have the HTV-X from Japan. You also have the Progress resupply vehicle from Russia. And I'm trying to think if there's any others that I'm missing off the top of my head. But yeah, Oh yeah, and ESA had their resupply vehicle as well, the ATV. And it looks like we have Frost on Falcon 9, so apparently they are continuing with prop load, even though at this point it appears there is still a Phase 2 lightning warning in effect.
Well, that is vapor, and that can only happen if there's cryogenic fuel inside and liquid oxygen is being loaded. So they must be giving it a go. 31 minutes and 20 seconds. On that note, Sawyer, just as a reminder for people joining us now as we approach this half-hour mark, Duck Spaceflight is asking, what is the go percentage for weather?
The last that we heard from SpaceX was 10%, and the last that we heard from our team out in the field was that it has since doubled to 20% chance of favorable weather at launch. The initial forecast from the 40th Weather Squadron was more optimistic at 60%, but obviously has since degraded. The original concern being the cumulus cloud rule, the anvil clouds, and surface electric field rule. So basically, lightning and other potential storm clouds in the area, which, while they may not be directly over the pad right now, you can see some of those thicker, darker colored clouds in the back there. That's what we don't want to see, because the last thing you need is the rocket flying through a cloud that has either lightning in it or the potential to create lightning as the rocket flies through it, and you cause issues with all of the circuitry on board. So that is why that is a concern. It's like, oh, but, Progress and Soyuz and all those launch in the rain all the time. It's more for the lightning concern than the actual rain concern.
Yeah, they've launched Soyuz in blizzards. Like, that's not an exaggeration. They have launched Soyuz in blizzards from Russia and from Kazakhstan. Soyuz is just built different. Sawyer, Telstar 86 is trying to take your job here because they are paying us to do a socials plug.
Oh, are they?
Look at that. Do we have a TikTok or a Facebook or anywhere to keep up with everything space, Sawyer?
No, we don't. I'm kidding. Of course we do. We have X, Facebook, Threads, TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky. I don't know why I picked that random order. But yes, we have all of those. There's the three main ones that you see in the top right of your screen. And of course, that is where we can always keep track of everything happening in spaceflight, get some cool photos from team members in the field, all the latest news, especially with all of the NOTAMs and things that are happening as we get closer to Flight 12. Of course, if you were watching the previous stream, you saw them, but social teams also on top of the game there. And we have some also fun things of like this day in spaceflight history. I've learned a lot just from keeping track of that. So all of those are on the NSF socials.
Indeed. Of course, big thank you to the social team keeping those running. It's also great to see the tank farm getting frosty, kind of wisping uphill, being blown by the wind uphill there onto the launch pad almost. But that frost line very quickly rising on Falcon 9, which is great to see. Of course, a little bit of a slower flow rate than we've seen with Starship version 3 over the last few days, but still pretty impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, we're only talking, 3 minutes slower compared to the latest timeline they gave for Flight 12?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty bonkers. Pretty bonkers. Go Carter is asking, did they send people to the LC-39 viewing gantry? I'm not sure about that particular viewing location for this launch, Sawyer, but it is one of many different places that you can watch a launch from at the Cape.
That is true. I mean, if you go with the KSC Visitor Complex, they do have some viewing that they offer at the main complex itself. They also have the Feel the Heat ticket, which is usually over by the Saturn V Center. And then, of course, there's plenty of public places to watch it from. Anywhere along US 1 in Titusville, the Max Brewer Bridge, all great areas. If Playa Linda's open, it's not as great for 40, but still a great view for almost all launch pads there. If you go more towards the southerly side, you have Cars Park. And then you also have Jetty, where you may not see the rocket until it launches, but you'll definitely see it launch and land. And of course, any of those public parks. So all of these are plenty of different viewing options. And of course, we have a video explaining all of these.
Indeed. Bideford in chat, thank you. Always in chat, Bideford. Great to see you on this stream. Saw you on the last stream as well. Greetings again, Ryan. Hello, Sawyer. Hope all is well, Mr. Punmeister. Yeah. Happy launch. Just finished showing houses in time. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a launch today. I'm going to be optimistic. You know, I'm going to be. Is it glass half empty or half full? Which is a good one. I can never remember. Half full. Okay, I'm going to be glass 20% full. Because I'm going to be optimistic. I'm looking forward for a launch. We've seen. Just look at this shot. The clouds are visibly thinning out. We can see way more blue sky than we could at the start of the stream half an hour ago. Look at that. There's so much blue sky. They can launch in this. This is going to be fine. You know?
I mean,
weather predictions be damned.
Depends on the view. I don't want to backseat produce, but Jay, what does it look like over by 39A, either VAB or the launch pad over there? Because a lot of it has to do with the radius. Yeah, that's all dark clouds in the background. That's not.
But that's different, Sawyer. No, we don't need to look at the VAB. We just need to look at Slick 40. Oh, look, blue skies, wonderful.
There is a radius of which the lightning cannot be within the launch pad area. So sure, it may be clear skies directly over 40, but if there is, those are not happy clouds. If those are within a certain range around the pad, that is when it becomes an issue.
Lego Rocket has a question, and we were talking about this on the Falcon Heavy stream a few days ago, and the answer actually surprised me. Lego Rocket is asking if they'll be able to hear the sonic boom from Orlando, and Sawyer, I think it's pretty much down to how the winds are blowing.
Exactly. Yeah, if the winds are in your favor and they're kind of blowing westerly, then there is a strong chance that you will hear it. Even if you're south as well, depending on the wind direction. I've heard people hear it as far south as Vero Beach, Fort Pierce, possibly even Stewart, which is surprisingly south if you know any Florida geography. So I would be surprised if you don't hear it, but again, it all comes on the wind direction.
I'm going to very cheekily just look at the weather, and it is okay. It's blowing in from the west from the sea, but then over Orlando it's blowing to the east, so maybe not favorable for this particular launch. It seems to be getting caught up a little bit in that big weather system which is sitting directly over the Cape right now, which we've been keeping an eye on all day. So yeah, maybe not ideal, but we'll just have to wait and see. Go outside. By all means, go outside, keep the stream on your phone, but go outside, listen out, see if you can hear the sonic booms, because this is a big booster coming back to the Cape here for that RTLS. And
Alex
sometimes.
Sorry, I was going to say Alex made a
Go
good
ahead.
point in the back channel here. The fact that given it is a northeasterly trajectory, that means for the boost back burn, it then has to turn south. So as it's coming back in to LZ40, it is traveling southward. So that means it's more likely that if you are towards the south of it, you will hear the boom farther.
Indeed. And as I was saying, this is a big booster. Sometimes we talk about Starship and Super Heavy, and we're like, that's a big booster. That's huge, okay? Starship is huge. That is unconceivably large. Falcon 9 is still huge. This thing is 3.5 meters wide. Just imagine 3.5 meters in your head. That's quite a wide rocket, and then it's 70 meters tall. These boosters are huge, right? And they're plummeting back to Earth at supersonic speeds, and then they just light the engines at the last second for a bang-on touchdown. The engineering is just incredible, and the amount of mass that is moved in such a short space of time is just incredible.
Yeah, for reference, the width on that is about 11.5 feet. And the height is about 230 feet for those who use Freedom 250 units.
Freedom 250 units, eh?
It says it on the booster. It says it on stage 2.
It does.
Sorry, not the booster. Yeah, second
You
stage.
got me there. It does. Let's see. M. Smith is asking, with one drone ship no longer used for Falcon 9, do they still need both Doug and Bob? I'm not actually sure on that one. I think they still have both in service, maybe to speed up kind of ferrying recovery. Do you know, Sawyer? I'm not 100% sure.
I believe they still do, and it kind of makes sense if you think about it. If they did want to go for that rapid turnaround cadence, and say, like for the NG mission that we just had, the Cygnus mission, that had a fairing on it. So imagine if you had one like this, one launching that was a drone ship landing, and then you had another one 3 days later that was an LZ landing. You would still want to have both of those recovery ships for the fairings. So I don't see why they wouldn't keep both of them.
Yeah. I mean, one of the ships is in Port Canaveral right now for the barge, the Marmac 31 barge, which just revealed itself with its new kind of tent structure, should I say? Its new roof protective structure. There you go, live from the port. Oh, it literally, great timing, SpaceX.
Wow.
Literally lifting a telehandler out of the deck right now. So there you go. That's one of the ships. I'm not sure if that is Bob or Doug, but that is one of those ships supporting that vessel, that new barge, literally docked right next to each other. That's pretty cool. Great. Thank you, SpaceX. I wonder if the guy on the crane is listening to the stream and it's like, they're talking about the ship. Let's do some activity. But they have been outfitting that new door. You can see there, well, it's more of a heavy-duty curtain than a door, but that new door on the end of Marmac 31 there, which, in the very near future, that barge is going to have starships and boosters on it, and that's pretty exciting. Of course, no fairings to recover on this particular mission. This is a Dragon mission, so nothing to conceal with the fairings.
It's worth noting, by the way, in terms of recovering on this one, though, this is not a new Dragon. This has been recovered quite a few times. In fact, this particular capsule flew on CRS 22, 24, 27, 30, and 32. So this is actually its 6th flight to the space station. So that's pretty cool. Also pretty cool seeing the 20-minute, 20-second vent there on screen, meaning that the RP-1 load has completed on stage 2. And they are now getting ready to chill down those lines in preparation for the liquid oxygen load, which the liquid oxygen load is much colder than the RP-1, and add in the fact that they super chill those propellants, so it's even colder than that, and that's when you need to thermally condition all of the lines. So hopefully in about 3.5 minutes, they will start loading the locks, and if they do, that means that vent will disappear.
Still counting down to that T0 in 19.5 minutes, specifically targeting 22, 50, and 50 seconds universal time. That will be 18, 50, and 50 seconds local time in Florida. So that's the specific launch time for tonight. They can't delay into the window because there is no window. This is an ISS mission and they need to launch bang on time when the alignment with the ISS lines up because they are rendezvousing with a moving target of the International Space Station. And that's pretty difficult to do with not a lot of Delta V. If you ever tried to do that in Kerbal Space Program, it's tricky. I can just about pull it off, but I need about double the required fuel because I have to do so many burns back and forth to try and line up with the spacecraft. It's not a very realistic way of doing it. So when they do these things in real life, they need to make sure they use as little fuel as possible and to make sure that everything is lined up from the get-go, which is why they have that specific launch time today. And fingers crossed the weather holds for that launch time. Let's see here. Lucas is asking, why are the abort engines covered on the cargo flights? Sawyer, I don't think they're covered. I don't think there's any engines at all on Cargo Dragon.
No, there's none. They typically remove them. It's a way to save mass. They don't need them. There's not a need to, if something happens, get the people to safety. It's just payloads and things. So that just adds extra mass. So by taking those away, you can replace that mass with other things to bring up. So you can bring up more science, more parts, more whatever else they need.
And we've just been getting reports that the weather is continuing to cooperate. Again, remember, we started today's stream with 10% probability of go weather conditions at launch. That's quickly jumped up to 20% probability of go conditions. And now we're hearing it's jumped again to 50%. So it's literally 50-50 if the weather will be favourable for launch today. But that's a nice trend in direction, Sawyer. 10 to 20 to 50. You know, I said it. The skies are clearing. There's more blue skies. I don't want to jinx anything, but I have a good feeling about this one.
I hope so. We'll have to see what happens. But yeah, You've got those big, thick rain clouds. Those are the issue ones. Again, even if it's not necessarily raining, those are the type of thick clouds that if you fly through them could cause that lightning. So that is why there is the cumulus cloud rule that they have. So it depends. Hopefully those cumulus clouds get out of the way, but we'll see.
We have W getting the the pin at shop.nasaspaceflight.com for Starship Flight 12. Thank you very much for that. J. Trudeau, thank you for your support there. Very excited for the increased launch cadences, which fingers crossed Starship will bring. And all the other rockets, of course. We just saw Stoke Space rolling out their booster to their test site in Washington State. So fingers crossed we see some hardware on the pad soon for Stoke Space, another company working towards a fully reusable rocket.
And also, Birthday Lucy, keep an eye out, by the way, or keep an ear out, I should say, if you have the chance to maybe hear it.
Absolutely. And Michael, thank you for getting the patch sun shirt at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. They are asking, where is Starship HLS being built? Why have we not seen any pictures of progress on HLS? Surely SpaceX is working on it if it's going to fly as part of the Artemis 3 mission. Sawyer, we haven't really seen anything, have we? I mean, I hope that they're working on hardware in the depths of Star Factory somewhere, but we just haven't seen anything.
Correct. We've gotten the hints, we've gotten renders, but not any visuals of any actual hardware that specifically says HLS on it in quite a while. We saw some things it was probably, a year ago at this point, down in Starbase. So my assumption is they would be working on it down in Starbase, since that is where they are actively working on Starship testing and Starship flight testing. And they've always said that the main goal is that Starship will eventually be their sort of proving testing grounds. And then once that's completed, then they'll be able to send the more operational flights once everything is tested and proven down here to Florida. Because, of course, they do have the plan for the launch pad that they already have mostly built, but are still continuing to work on over at 39A. And then, of course, they're working on assembling the two new ones over at Slick 37 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station that they just recently acquired. So eventually it will make its way to Florida, obviously, but it seems like they would be working on it somewhere in Starbase, and if they are, it's behind closed doors. But if we do get a chance to peek in any of those doors, of course, our team that's down there in Starbase have all of their eyes peeled.
The Anvil cloud rule. We're also tracking surface electric fields and the flight through precipitation constraint. These rules all together exist to prevent a rocket from triggering or flying through a lightning strike. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, that storm you can see on your screen is currently violating the cumulus cloud rule. So if we aren't able to launch today, our backup opportunity is Friday, May 15th at 6:05 p.m. Eastern. While that countdown continues, let's hand it back to Joseph in Houston. Joseph.
I am not Joseph in Houston, but that was information from SpaceX on what the current violation is for launch. Fingers crossed that cloud gets out of the way in the next 13.5 minutes. Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
but we will keep tracking.
It's Florida. That's the thing. You don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes, but it all depends on how fast the wind is blowing. And also, it has to be in less than 15 minutes because we only have 13 minutes and 14 seconds for it to happen. It is worth noting that the area is still technically in a Phase 2 lightning warning. So that is something to keep in mind as well. If that is active, they will not launch. If that cloud still stays within the area, they will not launch because, as they just said in their update, the main concern is always lightning. It's not so much, oh, the rain's going to damage something as it hits it when it goes up fast. No, it's the clouds that usually produce the rain can also produce lightning. And if you remember Apollo 12, it can short out electronics on the vehicle, which at least that one had SCE to aux and a person that could flip a switch. This is automated. We don't want that.
Yeah, nobody on board to flip SCE to aux, so they can't launch through the clouds, as I like to joke. And there you go. You can see some of the less favourable view looking on from the Complex 39 press site here. Some clouds hanging in the background, but fingers crossed they get out of the way in time. SpaceX has threaded the needle more than once before, so don't rule it out until we have to rule it out.
Yeah, in 2025, they did launch when the forecast was at one point predicted to be 10% favorable. And a reminder, at a 553, the forecast was only 10% favorable. So you can never rule it out.
Yeah, the weather has improved. At the beginning of the stream, it was 10%, then it was 20%, now it's 50%, now there's a cloud in the way. Things change rapidly on the Space Coast. Fingers crossed the clouds will part in 11 minutes and 40 seconds from now. Elias is asking, what do you think will happen to the Dragon vehicles after the International Space Station is decommissioned? Probably some commercial space stations, Sawyer, perhaps?
I think so. I mean, we've talked about in the past, VAST, their initial space station requires Dragon to be operational because it will be sharing some of the life support systems and CO2 scrubber canisters, all of that from the actual capsule itself. So I think it will stay in operation for a while. And of course, if there are those private stations, there's VAST, there's Orbital Reef, there's a couple others that are drawing a blank on for some reason at the moment that all have plans to launch, and they're all going to need resupply services. So I think that's where we will see the future of these vehicles. And that's, of course, for crew and cargo.
Absolutely. Igniting, as NASA likes to say, igniting that orbital space economy. Plenty of venting going on at the tank farm. Don't worry, that is not ground. It's not the clouds descending to the ground. That is the tank farm venting. But this is a pretty clear view of the skies above Slick 40 being less than favourable. Very, very cloudy right now over the launch pad. And they don't seem to be, making way with much enthusiasm. They seem to be kind of slowly drifting across the sky. So fingers crossed they do clear in time. Again, we've got 10 minutes to get out of the way. But that being said, I'm starting to see a little bit of sun shining on the ground there, maybe. So I'm going to stay optimistic. Don't go anywhere. 10 minutes time.
It's tough because it depends on the vantage point. You get one side that's, super gray and cloudy and dark, and then the other side is nice and clear. Of course, we want to see the beautiful clear side, just like how if you get a pin from shop.nasaspaceflight.com, you've got the one beautiful side that you show to everyone and the other that attaches to either your body or your mount.
It's funny you should mention that, Sawyer, because right now on the store we have our brand new Flight 12 collection of the patch, of the pin, and of everything else you'd want that design on. Starship is back, finally. We've been waiting God knows how many months at this point. Starship is back for Flight 12. It's a new pad design, a new vehicle design, and it's looking to be a very pretty design indeed. And that's talking about the rocket, let alone the patch, which is even better, which is also duplicated onto those awesome pins. We have the full pin set for the 11 previous flights. Now we're adding the 12th with this awesome design available now at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. They've been getting ordered in vast numbers throughout the streams today and throughout the week since we announced the design at the full stack and wet dress rehearsal of Starship. And you can, of course, get the design on pretty much anything you like on the shirts and the sticker sheets there. We've got a full sticker sheet of the previous 4 flights and all of the different designs as well. Shop.nasaspaceflight.com. We're getting ready for Flight 12 of Starship. Fingers crossed that happens within the next few days. But in terms of the launch happening within the next few minutes, Sawyer, we are counting through 8 minutes and 20 seconds. What are some of the things, apart from the cloud getting out of the way, what are some of the things we should be looking out for in these final minutes of the countdown?
Absolutely. So coming up in a little bit, we will have hopefully the engine chill down where they repair those 9 Merlin 1D engines for the thermal shock that they would otherwise experience. So they will start chilling down those engine lines, of course. Then they will also get Dragon onto its own internal power. And then hopefully, if all goes well, we will start to see them wrapping up all those different propellant loads on board. And at T-minus 1 minute, that's when the booster and the rocket goes on to its essentially internal power, and that is when it enters startup. So that's when the onboard computers take full control of the countdown, also when they pressurize the tanks to flight levels. And at T-minus 45 seconds is exactly when we would expect them to either give the go or no-go for launch pending this weather. So that's going to be the big milestone there, obviously.
This view brought to us by D, who has managed to roll out to the 39 press site and set up. The weather has cleared enough there. I'm also hearing that Jerry is getting ready as well, so it sounds like they've finally been allowed off the bus. So the lightning has gotten out of the way there as well. And we also have those pad cameras courtesy of NASA at the pad itself. So fingers crossed, if we do get a launch in 6 minutes time, just over 6 minutes from now, we will get some pretty views indeed. Engine chill now underway on the 9 Merlins on the first stage of Falcon 9. Very quickly, Sawyer, one last question before we get to the exciting portion of the countdown. Sputnik 49A is asking, how come SpaceX never named the cargo Dragon capsules like how they name the crew ones?
I mean, technically it has a name. This is Dragon C209, but yeah, that's because the first crew that gets to fly in it names it. So if there's no crew flying in it, they don't really get to name it. So this is just C209 -6 technically. Just like the booster, which I don't think we've talked about that yet. This flight is B1096, which is also on its 6th flight, having previously done the first Kuiper flight on Dragon, which is now Leo. So that was KF-01, the IMAP mission, NRL 77, GPS 3-9, and a previous Starlink flight.
I just realised I've been completely forgotten to talk about the booster. I've made it 55 minutes through a stream and I've completely forgotten about the booster. Thank you, Sawyer. But yeah. I wonder if any of the mice that have been launched to the space station have launched before on Dragon, in which case technically they should be able to name the capsule.
Yeah, but then every capsule will just be named Squeak.
Oh yeah. Might be a little bit of a disadvantage.
But yeah, again, for those who don't know, this mission, as we pointed out, previously flew CRS-22, 24, 27, 30, and 32 to the ISS. So this is the 6th flight for the capsule as well, and the second stages are always brand new and not reused.
Passing through 5 minutes, SpaceX is still looking at the weather, so no definitive good to go or no go just yet, but it's still a watch item, and we're watching it. They're watching it. Still some clouds hanging above the launch site. Hopefully, these clouds clear in time. We have got 4 minutes and 35 seconds for them to get out of the way so we can get Falcon 9 off of the pad with more supplies headed to the International Space Station. The ISS has just passed Florida. It is now heading up the eastern seaboard of the United States. So fingers crossed, Falcon 9 will be able to launch in 4 minutes and catch up over the course of the next few days. Strong back retract now underway. You can see those clamps opening up. The left one in this perspective, then the right one as the second stage continues to vent away, and then that'll fall back to the kind of degree or couple degrees or so to make clearance with the vehicle before fully swinging back at the time of launch. Fall back to about 45 degrees or so. Still continuing to count down for now. I'm seeing more blue sky, Sawyer. I'm feeling optimistic. Hopefully we get word from SpaceX or NASA shortly, but I'm feeling better.
This is going to be borderline. This is going to be really close on whether they can make it or not. Of course, 3.5 minutes to launch, but we typically, at T-minus 45 seconds, is when they make that final call. So right now, Dragon, though, is on internal power and its own terminal count, and we really get towards the terminal count of the booster at T-minus 1 minute when it goes to startup.
Approaching 3 minutes in the countdown now. Everything's starting to get a little bit more nervous, a little bit more nervy. I'm not sure which is the correct terminology. And I'm getting updates that the launch weather is now 95% favorable. So that's a huge swing from 10% go to 95% go in the space of 50 minutes. That is a big swing, but it looks like in 2.5 minutes time, the weather will be 95% favorable. So fingers crossed we get a launch in the 95% and not some kind of non-launch word that begins with S in the 5%. 2 minutes and 20 seconds left to go in the countdown at this point. We are standing by for the flight computer to begin those final pre-launch checks, and of course the propellant tanks pressurizing for flight in about 1 minute from now.
This is going to be interesting. Again, they've already finished loading up the stage 1 locks. Should be coming up on finishing up all those propellant loads. Yes, there we go. Stage 2 locks load is complete. So next up, we will see them do the gas closeout. So you'll see all of the things around the tank farm here and around the pad getting super venty. That is as they clear out all of the lines ahead of launch.
1.5 minutes left to go in the countdown. Still hearing that venting going on from the vehicle itself and from the tank farm.
That's the gas
and
closeout.
hearing the klaxon going as well.
That's a weather klaxon.
Oh.
Phase 2 lightning
has
warning
been terminated. Good news, everybody. Good weather. Good weather update. Thank goodness. Okay, 60 seconds left to go. Let's focus on the vehicle. Will we get a launch today or not? The skies are clearing up. The clouds are parting. There's blue sky in the background, but what we need is blue sky directly above Space Launch Complex 40 in Florida. 50 seconds left to go in the countdown. We're in startup. Continuing to count down. Through 40 seconds now. Heading towards liftoff. Final venting from the vehicle. 30 seconds to go. Things to look out for is going to be, we have got a hold. We are not launching today. CRS-34 staying on Earth for just a little bit longer. SpaceX standing down from today's launch because the weather did not clear in time. Despite the fact that they were bumped up to 95% go, the 5% has caught us out. Falcon 9 falling at the weather hurdle.
Hate it when that happens again. The weather, it's one of those where the weather is so finicky. The fact that it was at 10% and then up to 95% and back down again, man, that's wild.
And of course, because we have a Falcon 9 scrub, we have the Falcon 9 scrub merch. I watched the whole stream and all I got was a Falcon 9 scrub. I've been on 2 streams today so far and I haven't got a launch. There's something to say about that.
Well, one of them was a countdown to launch. This was an actual countdown to an actual launch that didn't launch. So I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to look at that. We're gonna have to look at that and see how that happened. But there you go. Shop.nasaspaceflight.com. This will be available for a limited time because you guys watched an entire Falcon 9 launch stream and all you got was a scrub. So one thing you do deserve is the exclusive scrub merch, which only is available in the hours. That was a loud vent. Only available in the hours after a scrub. 7 hours, 20 minutes, 50 seconds in the secret shop. Now open at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. There you go.
I will say, in terms of the forecast, I believe SpaceX said that the next launch attempt will be available this coming Friday at 6:05 p.m. Eastern Time, so a Flame Trench special. I believe, if that is the case, the weather does improve to 90% favorable, with the only concern being the cumulus cloud rule.
But today it was 95% favorable and they scrubbed Sawyer.
It was also 10% favorable when we started the broadcast.
Minor pedantics.
Fun fact. The actual percentage of weather being go today is now 0%.
Thank you for that, Sawyer. Also, thank you to D Wise, who rolled out to the field nonetheless. How are you, D?
Okay, that was very exciting hearing the sound of the weather siren and hearing that the phase 2 had cleared at barely a minute before launch. And then to hear hold just a few seconds later, that was very sad.
Yeah, not the ideal scenarios on that one. But, you'd rather be on the ground wishing you're in the air than in the air wishing you're on the ground. I would have liked to see a launch today, but if the conditions aren't right, the conditions aren't right, and we've got to stand down, give it another go, another day. And as Sawyer was saying, that next launch attempt is going to be Friday evening at the earliest, 18:05 local time, 22:05 coordinated universal time. No matter what, we will be live for when that happens, whether it's a Flame Trench special or whatever happens. It's going to be a pretty bonkers week because we're counting down to Starship as well. We've got countdown to launches for Starship. We've got Flame Trenches. We've got This Week in Space Flights. We've got Starship updates. So much stuff to come, Sawyer. So much stuff to come.
You're not kidding. There's a lot of things still happening. If you're not subscribed, you totally should be, so that way you know when all of these things are happening here on YouTube.
Indeed, that notification bell is a pretty useful tool. Also, follow us on the socials, because that notification bell doesn't really work most of the time, to be perfectly honest with you. Sometimes it's a little bit sketchy, but if you want to be notified when we definitely are live, socials are also a good way to go about that. I can highly recommend following us wherever you like to get all of your social media, I guess. It's kind of like ATM machine.
Yeah, it depends on how you want to look at it. Isn't it We Are the Media now or something with X? Or wasn't that a
The Everything
app? Yeah.
X gets you so many things, it even gets you scrubs. Anyways, Sawyer, thank you for being on today's stream.
Oh my gosh. It would have been nice to actually see a launch today, but again, it's Florida. And as we get towards the summer weather, this is unfortunately going to be something more frequent, especially for these mid to late afternoon launches. This is just the weathered pattern the way it is here. So it's, it's part of the way it is, but very grateful that we'll be back on the air and covering this again in a couple days.
Dee, thank you for rolling out to the field and watching the entire stream and setting up for the stream and getting a scrub.
It has been an absolute pleasure. At least we saw a fueled rocket today. We did not get a fueled rocket yesterday, but on Friday it should be a good one. I am looking forward to it. It's an exciting mission. When you have an RTLS, and these returns to 40 are all that much more exciting.
I just realized in the chat that we have gotten a $100 super chat from Negative Ascent Specialist. Thank you very much. I apologize. I almost missed this, but I didn't. It's on screen now. Hour 14 of work. NSF gets you through every single time in celebration of going under contract with my latest new house, wanting to spread the love. Thank you, Negative Ascent Specialist. That is a big chunk of support, and that is very, 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 very much appreciated. How many times can I say very in one sentence? But yeah, seriously, every single penny that you guys are able to contribute goes so far, and you don't have to contribute financially. Just watch the streams. That's all we ask. We just want to show people rockets. That's all we want to do. But if you're able to financially contribute, that is huge in itself, and support like this blows me away every single time, because we had $50 tips on today's stream, $100 super chats. It's just stupendous, the amount of support you guys give us. So thank you so much, Negative Ascent Specialist. That is very, very much greatly appreciated by everybody on the stream, working on the stream. With that, we also had Jerry in the field, stuck on a bus for most of the stream, to be perfectly honest. So thank you, Jerry, for rolling out as well in this horrible weather. Thank you to Jay Keegan for pushing the buttons, making the stream go. I've been Ryan Caton for NSF. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back whenever the weather decides to let us launch next. Bye-bye.
And here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Gino.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is! That was surreal.
That's
not what we want to see.
Oh my god.
Yikes, you bet. We don't need any more of these.
Your budget and the dream engagement.
We're ready to help you find the one. We have so much style under one roof because a friend knows you like options. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Am I gonna be back?
They're slow cushioning, but they're responsive, sure.
They actually fit great, and then running in them.
Before we come back. Yep, we are back. Yes, we came back. Oh, so nice right now. Oh. Okay. Yep, I am back. I scrubbed with lunch today, but yep, that's okay. Well, we're gonna see you here for our next launch attempt and for the next live stream. Keep it here with me and have a great day. Go to us room where you can find out the countdown before launch. You guys can go to that live stream. Goodbye. Alright, over here on the countdown stream, I'm just ending because, yeah, I don't want my computer to just do 24/7. But yeah, we're gonna have this countdown continue one day before launch. To start one more stream with one day before launch. Monday evening.